But before we get too comfortable, this session is going to be really, really interactive. Often at the end of the day of conferences, we can start to settle in and get a little bit sleepy. This is a chance for us to really wrestle and discuss some of the topics that we've been talking about today with peers to understand how they're addressing some of these challenges and what strategies they're putting in place. But before we do that, I want to remind you to do another QR code moment. This, again, is an opportunity for you to win those wonderful tickets to see Cirque du Soleil. So please scan the QR code there and increase your chance to be able to win. So these sessions that we have now will be an opportunity for us to talk about some of the things we have today, and there are 6 different streams that you can join. You can see in the room here that we've got long tables set up with numbers on them, and in a moment we'll all move to the table that we'd like to join and have an opportunity to share what some of the challenges we see in this area, what some of the strategies are, and what the future looks like in this area. So what are the opportunities for us here? The first roundtable is going to be moderated by Tom Ayoun, the founder and director of Sure Employ, and that table will be discussing harnessing technology for the mental wellness of the aged care workforce. The second roundtable will be moderated by Ramesh Raghavan, the head of Digital Strategy, Innovation and Architecture with Uniting New South Wales and ACT. And they'll be looking at data management and AI in aged care. Pretty topical topic again. The third set of tables will be moderated by Tamara Payton, the Senior Executive Officer from Vasi RSL Care. And that table will be addressing innovative approaches to workforce challenges in the aged care sector. The fourth table will be moderated by Toby Kell from BAPCare and Michelle Graham from IdeaGen ComplySpace, and they'll be considering data security and data privacy. The fifth table will be moderated by Lauren Williams, the General Manager of Business Systems Home Health from Australian Unity, and Morgan Panhurst from Flinders University. And they'll be looking at driving a culture of quality and safety in aged care. And the final table will be looking at opportunities to maximise growth and sustainability in home care, and that will be moderated by Lexi Dennis, the GM of Hazel Home Care. So please take this moment to go to the table that you're interested in and have a wonderful conversation. The conversation, again, will be looking at what are the challenges, the strategies and future in that particular topic area. Enjoy. At the end of this session, we'll have the opportunity to debrief and hear some of the insights that you've generated from your tables. Thank you. Everyone, this is your 5-minute warning. We'll be debriefing in 5 minutes. Okay, let's wrap up those conversations and have a debrief together. I'm going to start with the first table, who were talking about harnessing technology for mental wellness in the aged care workforce. One or two insights you want to share with the group?
Well, we were trying to learn from each other in our tiny little group over here, and had some interesting input from two providers who, I think from my point of view, some fascinating insights in combining the EAP, traditional EAP usage with some, in one case, in-house psychology, and just how that can make the EAP potentially more targeted and more effective. I think that was one thing, but also hearing how in a small community, in a small sort of, I think, rural town, there can be almost quite a high number of psych issues in a very small community that, is a challenge that we certainly hadn't really considered, that almost one gets it and then someone else complains, and some fascinating insights.
Great, thank you so much. At table 2, we're looking at data management and AI in aged care. And in only 20 minutes, you had to solve all of that. How did you go?
Well, that's the best part. We were not focusing on how to solve it, but really trying to understand what are we trying to solve, actually. So I think that was the core discussion around here. What's the problem we are really trying to solve? Because those problems existed before AI too. And what came out is where the real ROI really where it comes in is when we're looking at correlating non-correlated data really across systems, whether it's across care and finance and people and etc. So the challenges of really correlating that and making some decisions is what came out strong. The ROI aspects was discussed, how challenging it is in this world, because it's not the traditional efficiency calculation elements. The challenges in that was discussed. And also, I think key focus starting point could be at the point of care, and second is on things like training. It could really play a big role. I think that was the primary summary.
Thank you. And with so much data that we all capture, what to do with it all, so
that was
interesting. The third table, we're looking at innovative approaches to workforce challenges in aged care. I think we're all ears. What did you come up with?
Well, the challenges were the same for everyone around the table, I think. Some of the things we've already heard about in sessions today. It's retention, it's use of agency and the impact it has on profit and culture and quality. It's supply of staff. It's the things we all know. So what was really interesting was talking about some of the strategies, and I think the theme that came out around our table was some of the creative ideas, and we talked about what the future looked like. It was about using those creative approaches to break down some of the ways we've been doing things so far. So just some of the creative ideas that came up were around accommodation in regional areas. We had one provider who's looking to purchase a hotel to be able to provide accommodation to workers who are coming in from overseas. We talked about making sure the culture is one that keeps people there, talking about why to stay in aged care, telling our stories really well, and also leveraging the fact that we're seeing higher and higher acuity of residents to bring some of the treatments into aged care so that we're not losing nurses to the acute sector, and they can apply some of those skills within the aged care home. And then also the younger influence. I think it was part of a presentation earlier. I wasn't there at the presentation. No, it wasn't? Okay, well, I get to share the great idea, which is... put her on the bill for tomorrow, about the ACES program, which was partnering with schools in the local area for the older school-aged children to actually get employment after hours, so after school and on the weekends in the aged care home, doing activities with residents as part of a lifestyle program, and it's offered almost as an employment alternative to some of the other traditional after-school jobs that people might have. It's a slightly more appealing pay rate, but it also means that it brings younger people into the sector, and they then start growing skills to move into other roles, whether they be care roles or nursing roles, for example. So, great discussion.
That sounds amazing. I have a son who's a teenager and looking for his first job, so I'll give you a call afterwards. Thank you. So the fourth table, we're looking at data security and data privacy. Data used to be seen as oil, now it's seen as the new uranium. Tell us what you were looking at in your table.
Okay, well, firstly, our topic wasn't as sexy, obviously, because we got the smallest table. But we did have a really good conversation. So ours was about data security and data privacy, and what we decided to do was unpack firstly what that meant to us as individuals, So we started off with looking at confidentiality, and we all said that confidentiality was really important to us. And then as we were unpacking it, we realised that it meant different things to each of us. So what might be confidential to me is different to what is confidential to somebody else. So we talked about that. We talked about identifying, sources of data. Like often we think when we hear the word data security and data privacy, your mind starts going to the digital space straight away. But there's a lot of other forms of data. A simple case of if you've got an external laundry service and your residents' clothing with their names are going to that service, and that clothing may have bodily fluids on it, for whatever reason, that's a form of information and a data, about that individual. So it's really important to understand that data doesn't just come from digital sources. There's a lot of other information. If you've got a visitor's book at your reception, it's got all the information, contact information of everyone who's been before you, and it's usually quite visible if you still have a paper book sitting at your reception. So it's about thinking about, the different sources of data. We talked about having really good policy in place for the management of that data, and particularly in light of the introduction of fabulous tools like ChatGPT and Copilot through Microsoft. Do you have a policy in place in your organisation for the use of those platforms? Is it wise to put an individual's information into that platform and ask a question? Are you safer? Is it more secure to use the subscribe service that your organisation has approved over and above the open version of it? So consideration and teaching the workforce about good data security, particularly in the face of all these fantastic tools that we have available and they have available on their phones. Are we doing that? Are we considering that? Are we thinking about that at the moment? And then lastly, we talked about the destruction of data. What method do you use to destroy data? And it can be any sort of data, but we know that we have to, we can't keep things forever, and we have archives and, people come and go from a service and for lots of reasons. But what do you do with that data? And once you destroy the data, do you have a record of what you destroyed and when you destroyed it and how you destroyed it? If somebody turns up and asks you, what did you do with Betty's data? Do you have a record of it? So they're the sorts of things that we discussed, and it was really interesting and thought-provoking, and I thank everybody at this table for choosing probably the least attractive topic. So that was our little talk.
Thank you. And, thanks for trying to bring sexy back to data and privacy. Good job.
Data's always sexy. You just got to understand it.
Table 5 looked at driving a culture of quality and safety. How did you guys go?
So what we discussed was really around how do the ways of working are embedded within our businesses, specifically around how do the visibility of data drivers and the visibility of the clinical governance frameworks underpin those different ways of working. We definitely had a conversation around the reversing of blame culture, which can often come in when it comes to these questions around quality and safety, and do I feel safe in even raising some of my concerns within this space? And so that psychological safety concept was certainly something that we discussed. We also looked at it from engaging the entire ecosystem. So we're really fortunate this table had a very diverse array of people on it. And so we were able to look at it from different sectors, perspectives, and different players within the sector. So that gave us different areas of intel in regards to those spaces. We spoke about how transparency and accountability is absolutely key to really embedding the culture of quality and safety, as well as being connected. So being able to understand why safety and quality is important to the care provision. We spoke predominantly around the fact that we were so mindful of the fact that many of our frontline staff are so empathetic to the needs of our customers, and so making sure that we could explain what it was that we were doing within quality and safety frameworks that actually connects back to that piece around what the customer. And then finally, we really spoke about something that I think most of us were quite passionate about, which was being able to clearly articulate what the role of the front line is and those that are supporting the front line, and being clear on the scope of practice associated with that. And that links back to what I was saying about, you know, the front line often being overly empathetic. And so often we find our front line are so willing and wanting to help our customers, but it's not always the safest thing for either themselves or the customer at the time. And so being able to clearly have those guardrails up and for them to know what those guardrails are, but also to feel safe to be able to have a conversation that says a customer has these needs and how can we best help them if it's not them actually provisioning for that care.
Great conversation, thank you. And finally, Table 6 looked at maximising growth and sustainability in home care. How did you go?
We are on, that's good. So we started our discussion, I mean, yes, maximising growth and success in home care in the void of any detail of support at home, and the challenges that brings us when we are looking at, you know, operating models and trying to access different grants, different programs that might be released. How do we incorporate that into the work we do? Leveraging off some of our knowledge around NDIS, and then we moved into looking at different models of operating, such as self-management. So yeah, it was a very productive conversation that we had. Yeah, it was good.
Great, thank you so much. Well, it's really great to have this opportunity to be able to digest and flesh out some of the things that we've talked about throughout the day, and to be able to talk with peers about how do we face into some of these challenges together to continue to transform the industry.